Hey guys, what is going on? This is NGS and welcome back to another video. In this comeback edition of the Real Talk Reviews, I'm going to be discussing a movie that recently came out that's based on what is probably the most popular anime and manga franchise of all time. I'm of course talking about Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods. And there's a lot to discuss about this movie. So this is definitely going to be a real talk review where I'm going to sit and talk your ear off for anywhere from 10 to 15 to 35 minutes about a particular subject matter. And since this movie in and of itself is a celebration of all things Dragon Ball, we might as well start at the very beginning of Battle of Gods, with of course its inception and why this movie is so important. So let's begin. Battle of Gods is the first Dragon Ball movie to be produced in 17 years. You heard that right, people. Close to 2 decades without a Dragon Ball movie, and now we have Battle of Gods. Of course, I'm referring to the Japanese release date, because as many of you know, I'm sure you know, Dragon Ball came to different parts of the world at different times. So your timing may vary of when Dragon Ball was released in your home country. It was different for everybody, but going by the concrete Japanese release, it's been 17 years. This movie came out in March of 2013 in Japan, and it was released in summer of 2014 in North America. We actually had a short-lived theatrical run where people could see the movie for a couple of days, with its Blu-ray release being released in October. For the most part, there's really been nothing new from the Dragon Ball medium in close to 20 years. With the completion of the manga and the anime, I think a lot of fans were really, I guess, getting kind of, not franchise fatigued, but really eagerly anticipating something new that also happens to be canon. The closest thing to canon Dragon Ball related material that we got in the past couple years was, I believe, Yo Son Goku and his friends return that introduced Vegeta's younger brother Tarbo. But since then we've only gotten What If video games, and of course there was the infamous 64 episode anime thing that I think was a sequel to Dragon Ball Z. I don't know. I mean, I don't count it. I guess if you're counting the anime, it's somewhat of a sequel. And then we got AF, which is not canon. It's fan-made. People stop thinking it's canon. It's not gonna happen. Like Fetch, stop trying to make Dragon Ball AF happen. It's not gonna happen. It's crap. Multiverse is crap. That's right. Shots fired on this video. It's been a while since we've had anything canon related to Dragon Ball. So this being the first Dragon Ball movie to be canon was a huge deal. This takes place after the completion of the manga, well, the Majin Buu arc in particular. It takes place in between that time gap from the destruction of Kid Buu to the next World Martial Arts Tournament with the introduction of Pan. So it sets somewhere between, what was it, that like 5 to 10 year gap? I think that's what it was, or was it 5 to 7? I forget the exact date. I'm leaning more towards 10 years. But that's basically where this movie fits in, and it fits in really well. It doesn't really go out of its way to try to break characters or try to introduce things that are pretty contrived and trying to make it fit into the story when it's not, because that's what all the other Dragon Ball movies in the past have done. None of them were canon, but people tried their hardest to try to fit them into the canon. But even in the best possible scenarios, like the first movie, Dead Zone, there were still a lot of things that really can't fit into the story. So that's why those movies are not canon, and Battle of Gods is canon, because it makes sense. Now let's move on to the actual story of the movie. This is where things get kind of tricky, because Battle of Gods is really unlike any Dragon Ball movie that we've ever seen before. This movie breaks the mold in so many ways that it's almost hilarious how different it is from films like BoJack or pick a Broly movie. They're all the same. It's so different than those, because this movie does not go for the typical generic, I guess you can call it typical generic shonen type movie, where you introduce a generic villain who has this doomsday plot. He wants to kill everybody because he's somehow angry at like the main character or their family or something, like crying, something like that. This movie is not like that at all. This movie, what I think does is takes it back to Dragon Ball at the very core, its nature, the whole carefree, awesome, learn to love the characters feeling that we got in Dragon Ball anime, as well as the DBZ, well, the Dragon Ball manga as well, because it's, you know, the manga is all one thing. It's only in the States where they sectioned it off as Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, regardless of that history lesson for those wondering. Yeah, this takes it back to that. So there really isn't much of the Z Warriors actually fighting in the movie. There isn't one main huge enemy that they have to take down because they're angry at the Saiyans or something. It's not like that at all. This movie is really about getting you introduced to the characters once again, because like I said, it's been 17 years since we've seen these characters in the movies. So you can consider this like a continuation of the story for the most part. So they took that time to really look at the characters in downtime, you know, in a time of peace, because we really don't see that too often. We see it at the conclusion of arcs when they were fighting Frieza and Cell and Kid Buu, but it was very nice to see it once again, seeing everybody just having fun at Bulma's 38th birthday party. So that's something I really did love about the movie. It is very carefree in its nature, its tone, its atmosphere. It is Dragon Ball. But there is still fighting in the movie. There are still spectacles to witness. The main fights that you're going to be seeing in this movie involve Goku versus the, I guess you can call him villain of the movie, Beerus the Destroyer, or Bills the God of Destruction if you're watching the Japanese version. But I like calling him Beerus. Beerus is a very interesting character because, like I said, this movie's tone is unlike any Dragon Ball movie you've seen before. He fits in as more of a villain that Toriyama would have made than something you would see in a movie like a BoJack or a Broly. This guy, case in point, is not really evil, to say the least. Regardless of his name being the God of Destruction, he's not really hell-bent on destroying the Earth, you know? He only decides that he wants to destroy the Earth after he realizes that he can't get a fight with the Super Saiyan God. You get what I'm saying? He does not want to take revenge on anybody. The dude just wants to fight the guy who kicked the crap out of Frieza. He's like, yeah, I want to fight that guy. I really do. And with his introduction in the movie, it's so nonchalant and hilarious. Like, you learn to love Beerus because he's not generic. He's just Beerus. He's just this dude who has his own personality and is so carefree. And of course, he gets serious at times. Don't get me wrong. He can become angry and he knows where to draw the line. But he's a villain that balances everything. He's just such a rich and dynamic character. He's very pleasant, he's sophisticated. When he first introduces himself to the Earthlings, Bulma at her birthday party, he's very cordial. You know, he dances with them and has fun with them, and he's eating food with them. You know, he's not an idiot, he's not a simpleton, he's very classy, he's charming. He's just an awesome character entirely. And the dude kicks ass when he's fighting. So the main highlight of the movie, as far as villains go, Beerus, I think, is one of the best villains that we've had in a very long time for Dragon Ball, especially considering, like I said, the movies and all the what if stuff that was going on. Beerus is awesome. And he's also accompanied by his companion Whis, who is basically his keeper slash mentor and such. He basically puts the leash on Beerus when he tries to do some stupid thing. It's definitely something I think that might put people off from the movie, because if you're going into this movie expecting an epic battle of gods, as the title suggests, and if you look at any of the trailers, really, it can kind of be misleading. Literally, it says it on the back of the thing. Earth's greatest hero takes his place among the gods. And then when you see the screenshots and you just look at the title, I don't know why Gohan is Super Saiyan in this photo. He doesn't need to go Super Saiyan. He has his latent powers awakened and stuff, the Supreme Kai and all that stuff. Probably just for, you know, the sake of having 4 Super Saiyans charging, you know, which made no sense, but whatever, we gotta attract the plebeians. The movie is essentially just that, a carefree, nonchalant reintroduction of the characters, and you getting the chance to experience a good time with them once again. That's the main atmosphere that you're gonna get out of Battle of God. So if you're expecting anything, you know, crazy or catastrophic to happen to planet Earth, nothing like that is going to happen in this movie, which I'm thankful for. I really got tired for the most part of them going the generic, oh, we gotta do this because it makes sense and it's easy. I think we all got tired of that, especially seeing it not in Dragon Ball, not to single that series out, the movies. Like I said, I have to differentiate because the movies, anime and manga are different levels of experience. I'm just saying a lot of generic anime films in general, you do see that happen. But in this one, thankfully, that doesn't happen. So it's awesome. The animation is also very beautiful. You can definitely tell that this was something that would be celebratory. It's the first movie in almost 20 years, so the animation has to be top-notch. And it is, especially if you're watching it at high definition. It's gorgeous. There are a couple of hiccups here and there when it comes to utilizing CG material, but those are so few and far between. It's mainly in the final battle between Goku and Beerus. That section of really awkward CG is so minuscule compared in the grand scheme of things of a beautiful movie that really I can look past it for the most part. And the soundtrack is also really interesting as well. It definitely is not utilized in, I guess how you would say this, a Bruce Falconer method where they gotta have music going on for everything. This dude could be brushing his teeth and they gotta have some synthesized rock thing going on, you know? The movie knows where to have silent parts, and then it also knows where to just amp it up with the soundtrack. So that was something I loved. You're gonna be hearing some great music going through the movie, especially in the encounters with Beerus and the Z Warriors. And then the songs by Flo for the movie, their rendition of Chala Head Chala, fantastic, fantastic. I don't think you could have picked a better group to cover one of the most popular shonen theme songs. That basically wraps up the story portion of Battle of Gods. Now I want to move on to something that really pertains to the individual who has purchased the Blu-ray DVD combo pack. If you purchase the Blu-ray DVD combo pack, this is actually an extended edition. It comes with 2 separate cuts of the movie. It comes with a theatrical cut as well as an uncut edition, which is extended. If you're interested in watching the theatrical cut, it is 85 minutes, while the director's cut / uncut edition is 105 minutes. This is a question that I think is best answered when you watch both versions of the movies as to which is superior. To be honest, I've seen both multiple times since I've purchased this Blu-ray, and really to me there is no one definitive edition of the movie. Overall, I will say for people who just want to get into the movie for the first time, don't really want to worry about too much, they just want to watch it, I'd say go with the theatrical version. The director's cut comes with a lot more, how should I say, extra content that really isn't of a whole lot of importance to the movie, but it's cool for people who have seen the movie once and they want to see more miscellaneous stuff with the characters. There's a lot of stuff involved with Beerus and Whis. They have a lot more screen time in the movie where they're on their home turf, their atmosphere. You see a lot more exposition with both of them, and there's also a lot more interactions with the Earthlings at Bulma's birthday party. There's a lot more stuff going on there. But other than really those 2 things, there's not too much in the extended cut of the movie that's really going to make you think, oh, well, this is the most definitive edition of the movie. There are some pointless things added in there just for the sake of, I guess. And when you watch both back to back, you'll definitely see what's in the extended edition that they did cut out for whatever reason. But if I had to recommend something to a person who's watching it the first time, go with the theatrical cut and then watch the extended edition to fully make your judgments on whether or not you want to see the extra stuff with Whis and Beerus. Like I said, it's not a complete game changer. It's not gonna turn your opinion on the movie upside down, but it's definitely worth watching, especially since this comes with both. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was my Real Talk review of Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods. There was a lot to discuss about this movie, and I think I can sum it up as such. This is not your typical Dragon Ball Z movie. If you're expecting something on the lines of Broly or Bojack, something like Super Android 13, you're not gonna get that in this movie. It's very, very carefree, nonchalant, reminiscent of the early days of Dragon Ball. And even the villains are completely different than what we've seen in the movies. And that is something I definitely did enjoy about Battle of Gods, you know. I really had no high expectations for the movie because I thought they were going down the same line of generic and Saiyan worship and such, but it's really not. And I really do love the villains that, if you can call them villains, that they introduced. The Beerus, the God of the Story, and Whis, they are pretty cool. However, I do have to say though, I do wish there was a bit more time given to the actual story. I did want to see it a bit more fleshed out. But at the same time, for what they were going for, it was perfectly acceptable. That's just me, you know, chalking it up to the fact that we haven't seen a Dragon Ball movie in 17 years, so I was thinking it'd be something crazy, especially since it's canon. However, they did confirm that a sequel is coming for the Dragon Ball canon movie verse, if you want to say. Not really sure if it's going to be a sequel to Battle of Gods. They definitely did hint on it at the end of the movie, how there are different how should I say this, different realities where there are different gods and such. So they are, you know, planting seeds for them if they want to do something more with that. But it's all up in the air to see what they're going to do with the sequel. I don't even know if they're actually going to keep on with more Super Saiyan God stuff and more about the gods over here. It'd be interesting to see that, but it's going to be very, they're going to have to handle it very delicately. Akira Toriyama is heavily involved with the production of that movie, more so than this, so I definitely do think he wants things to be, to flow out in a better way than he's seen in the past, because as you know, Toriyama had really no involvement with the Z anime or GT. He had more involvement with this, so I think he wants to get back into the saddle and actually, if they're going to make something that's canon, he wants full control of it. So for those who are reading the manga, which is his original vision, and then they're seeing this, he wants it to be as close to that as possible, make sure they keep certain characters in line and don't nerf them like they have in movies prior. But Battle of Gods is definitely a watch if you're a Dragon Ball fan. If you're a person who understands the heart, soul, and core of Dragon Ball, you're going to see at the very least that this movie is enjoyable. If you're looking for something that's nothing but fights 24/7 out the wazoo, you're going to be very disappointed with Battle of Gods. While it does have a lot of awesome and beautiful fights, the final fight between the Super Saiyan God and Beerus is fantastic. Other than that, there really isn't much going on in the movie outside of, like I said, getting you reintroduced to the characters and all of that nonsense, which to you may not be a big thing, but to me, I loved seeing it. So Battle of Gods, I highly anticipate what they're going to do later on in this franchise. Post your comments down below in the video comments section. I have a Facebook fan page and Twitter, both are NeoGameSpark. Links down below in the video description. What did you think about Battle of Gods? Let me know. I'm NGS signing out, and like always, I will catch you guys later.